Luqman regarding school uniform. School uniform is something that is part of most children's lives in the UK. It's difficult to trace the origins of school uniform as there is no comprehensive written history. However, school uniforms are believed to be a practice which dates back to the 16th century in the United Kingdom. It is believed that the Christ Hospital School in London in 1552 was the first school to use a uniform. In many schools around the world, school uniform is widely adopted, including South Africa and most Asian nations. Over 90% of schools in England wear school uniform, and Britain and Ireland stand out as the only countries in Europe where uniform is generally supported by the national and local government. Compare this with the US, where about 20% of schools have uniform, as well as Canada and most of Europe, which doesn't have uniforms in schools. So, is it a good idea or not? I'm sure you all have your own views. I believe that it is something positive, and I'm going to explain why. Firstly, a reason that people can be bullied is because of the clothes they wear, as you can tell whether they're rich or whether they're poor. So by wearing school uniform, it can reduce bullying. In fact, statistics show that in schools where uniform is worn, there is 6% less bullying than when they're in a school where their uniform isn't worn. Secondly, school uniform instills a sense of confidence and pride into their pupils. This can result in them wanting to try harder in class. So don't you want everybody to feel the same about their school? In addition to this, it can also encourage people to behave better as they feel a sense of responsibility by wearing a uniform. Another point is that wearing a school uniform makes you feel part of the school and part of that community. It can make you feel that you're part of something special, and this can propel you to work harder. For example, imagine a pupil wearing no school uniform. He wouldn't feel any sort of connection to the school, and nobody else would know that he attends that school either. This could mean that he could misbehave and not be identified, and also that he won't show the same respect for his school and education either. Whereas a pupil wearing school uniform would walk around with pride and would also be less likely to misbehave. Statistically, pupils that wear school uniform are less likely to misbehave than those who don't. In 1994, a US study showed that when a high school started uniform, there were fewer absences and truancies, fewer referrals to the office for behavioural problems, fewer suspensions and expulsions, and decreased crime and vandalism. Another benefit of wearing school uniform is that on school trips you're clearly identifiable, so you don't get lost when there. If you aren't wearing school uniform, you could easily misbehave there and not be told off or held responsible for what you have done, as nobody can prove that you're from a specific school. So therefore, not wearing school uniform can lead to serious consequences. In addition to this, a school uniform can help students focus more in class, as there won't be any distraction from pupils wearing clothes with bright colours or distracting patterns. Statistics show that 50% of pupils said that they would get distracted because of what other pupils were wearing in lessons. These shocking facts show that not wearing a school uniform can seriously hinder a student's learning. So that is yet another reason why school uniform shouldn't be worn. So overall, I believe that school uniform is something beneficial for the student. Although I'm glad I don't go to Eton where they have to wear a top hat and a tailcoat in school. Thank you.